hockey, for example, and your podcast doesn't come up, you may want to look at some of the other keywords that come up for that. Also, if hockey is such a grandiose term, maybe people are going to find other podcasts that maybe have a little bit of a higher listenership than your podcast. This is where you kind of talk about niche marketing, knowing your specific place within the overarch of the giant topic. How important is it for a podcaster to understand their own niche market in the global scheme of their given field?
So I think it's more important than ever because of the level of saturation that we're experiencing within podcasting and social media as well. So if you don't give yourself a chance to be discovered, you don't give yourself a chance at all. And so a lot of people, when they try to appeal to too big of a market, they end up appealing to no one simply because they can't break through the noise. So if you don't have a fairly specific offering, it's going to be difficult to keep people and even get people to you in general. So I think having a deep understanding of what you want to do is going to be very beneficial. And I would recommend starting more niche, like airing more on the niche side, being very narrowed down and expanding out from there. Whereas if you try to start too broad, it's going to be very difficult to attract an audience unless you're investing a lot of time creating content, say for TikTok and more generalist platforms versus say podcasting and even YouTube, where it's a lot more specific to the content itself. And the more niche that you are, what it does is it makes it easier for the platforms to know exactly who you are and who you're for. So they're more likely to give you an opportunity because they know exactly what you are. Whereas if it's more generic and broad, it makes it more of a risk on their end. And in turn, they're less likely to give you those opportunities.
And it's also really important when you look, for example, at Apple Podcasts or any of the podcasting apps, you may be, when people listen to your podcast, recommending other podcasts, for example, like really high level podcasts, but it may not be reciprocated in the same way, right? So you may go, for example, your podcast focuses on social media, for example, and building an audience. You may be able to recommend other people who talk about social media. And because your podcast is getting a lot of traffic, when you go to those specific podcasts, they'll be recommending your podcast right back. So it's cyclical. The one thing that I think you would, and we kind of talked about here, is you don't want to send people away from your show or your channels and then not have a way to pull them back in. So being able to really funnel into that niche market will make sure that if someone finds out about something through you, they're going to find right back about you from them also.
Yes, no, that's very important is to own that communication stream. So you got to think about what the next goal is. And I think approaching every piece of content with the next call to action in mind is something that you should be doing. And that's going to give yourself the best opportunity to maximize every person who listens.